Thanks very much. My name's Liz. Thanks very much, Senya, for that lovely introduction and for reminding me to do my Kegel pelvic floor exercises. I'm going to be so plastic, I don't know. But yeah, thanks. So my name is Liz and I'm a physics lecturer, and my research area is in, I work in the university. My research area is climate and air pollution studies. I've lived in Galway for nearly 20 years. I live here with my husband and my 3 kids, and I'm expecting another kid, which I may actually call Enya. She's testament to the fact that the rhythm method is not a very accurate form of contraception. It's a true story. So I've never done this before. And this is Bright Club is such an amazing opportunity. It gives people a chance to, live a dream that you may have had all your life and do something that you've always wanted to do but never thought possible. That's 100% not the case with me. I never ever wanted to do this. I did want to do it. I was very honoured to be asked, and I have a lot of faith. I think it's a fantastic night. It's brilliant. I'm very passionate about science communication, and especially in novel ways. So, my head said yes. My stomach is at the moment doing flips, and I feel like getting sick. But it's a great opportunity. So I feel like a fish out of water. And that is a very common thing. I feel like that in many different aspects of my life and my career, for lots of reasons. Anyone that knows me knows why. The grimace, that face is kind of my default face. Emoji. If I was to be an emoji, I'd be the grimace emoji. So I grew up in a house full of, I have 3 brothers, being the only girl, fish out of water. My parents were from the countryside, so my friends in Dublin always call me a culshie. But then when I moved here as the dub, so I've been a fish out of water. Also, I didn't mention I'm very passionate about traditional music, so I play the fiddle and I'm a music teacher. So in the physics department, I'm looking around going, do you like Frankie Gavin? No. Just again, I feel that lots of times I feel like I'm kind of in the wrong place, or maybe there's another path for me, and which means I'm like here. I'm kind of in the wrong place. I'm used to presenting with slides and have lots of crutches, but so I'm very exposed and very vulnerable, and I guess that's what a fish out of water is, and I think it can lead you to feeling having this grimace face all the time, but also it can give you this kind of sense of compassion and being able to see things from another point of view. I think that can be very valuable, and I'm going to talk about that later on. But back to physics, which is my career. So I first got into physics, and I have to thank one of my first boyfriends. My first boyfriend, who's affectionately known as .com. So when I was 16, again, these brothers that I grew up with, they were merciless and very consistently reliable to take the piss out of whatever the fuck I was doing. So .com, he was a nerd, into computers, but the worst type of nerd, an arrogant nerd. I mean, we all love nerds. We're all here tonight, but .com was a bit of an arrogant prick. And he was talking about physics, and he's like, "Oh, physics is a fantastic subject." It's in Dublin, he spoke like that. He said, you learn about everything, about atoms and motors, and, girls don't do physics, really. I mean, do you know what a motor looks like? So I said, fuck's sake. We didn't last too long. .com we went our separate ways, but I got into physics, so it kind of piqued my interest, this bit of gender warfare. So I started studying it for my Leaving Cert, and I really love the elegance of it and the fact that we have used a mathematical language to describe the world around us. And this was a bit of a revelation. I found a really neat way to describe the universe, and it gave us a language where we could express how amazing the universe is and talk about not only how atoms come together in different ways and how they interact, but the fundamental forces that govern interactions from subatomic scale, from the smallest thing in the universe, right up to the intergalactic scale. So this was very exciting. And obviously I liked it well enough to continue with physics on through my university life. Now, at the time, I always had an eye for the artistic, and music was my real passion all through all through my university days. And I'd often be thinking, looking at a bit bemused at my colleagues or at my people that were in the course with me. It's like, they seem to be really into this. What's wrong with them? But I think this was partly, so I didn't really identify. I was kind of fooling myself, in denial that I was a physicist. And I partly might be because there were very few role models. As a woman in physics, we're severely represented. As I'm sure you know, I did my spiel on my daughter earlier on, and she said, "Yeah, I was just really bored when you started talking about facts and figures." So I won't give you the facts and figures. I've forgotten them anyway. But anyway, we're underrepresented. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I had no role models, and physics is kind of dominated by a lot of conservative white men still, and it still is to this day. And events like this will hopefully attract a lot more people into it. Although I'm not really selling it very, I'm not very selling it well. But anyway, I continued all, and kind of like marriage, familiarity grows on you when you stop looking away at things that catch your eye, like artistic creativity, and then it's like, I can make this work. I'm actually very happily married. But anyway, so I got into the area of climate change and air pollution, which was really exciting, and I got the chance to work with a fantastic research group here in Galway that had been doing brilliant work for decades. And my job was climate modelling. So I was studying the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is this life force all around us, this fluid that we take for granted, that we interact with the whole time. I guess COVID really gave us an awful lot of experience that the atmosphere is a shared resource that we all have to manage. It's a commons, and that these atoms that we breathe in, you breathe it out, and they're the same atoms that have been floating around the Earth since the dawn of time. So it's a really interesting thing to simulate and actually quantify in a computer model. And my job was to run climate scenarios, so see how the climate would change into the future depending on how the world would evolve. So for different storylines. So if we would cut emissions in the best case scenario, agreeing with targets, what would climate change look like in 100 years? Or if we continued taking fossil fuels out of the ground and throwing it into the atmosphere at the rate we're doing now, what would the world look like? Basically, to what extent are we pissing on our own chips here? Climate change isn't funny, but So that was my job, and it really got interested in these data sets I was using, global data sets that are quantifying changes in emissions that have the massive global impact of changes in temperature and extreme weather and all the climate change we see around us. But how these data sets related back to the individuals, so back to the humans that were actually being asked to make changes and walking around, and the individuals that make up the whole. So I became very interested in this gulf that existed between the data sets and people, So that's how I got into climate change or climate communication, and started talking to individuals about their experiences and environmental policy and these complex ideas surrounding the climate and the atmosphere. And not only to, bring science to the people and kind of disseminate and educate, but also to gather stories about resilience and to see how individuals can be encouraged to design climate solutions for sustainability. And to do this, I finally got to work with the artists that I was fancying all through my life. So we work now in a transdisciplinary team where scientists and artists will look at the same problem, and we explore together with communities a lot of these questions for the purposes of co-designing climate solutions. So in this instance, I think being a fish out of water can be really beneficial, because you're able to see things from another person's point of view. And that, I think, is one of the benefits. So I'd encourage you all not to shy away from doing things that make you feel absolutely as vulnerable and as scared as I do at the moment. But I'm going to finish. I'm not as I said, I was pretty nervous doing this. When I mentioned to my husband that I was asked to sign up, he just looked at me for, what felt like a very long time. And there's a very, very heavy silence. And he said, "But you're not funny." Now, you can imagine after nearly 14 years of marriage, this came as quite a shock. I thought I was fucking hilarious, like. And, with many successful banters over the years. But apparently I'm funny in private, just not in public. Sometimes my jokes don't land, sometimes people get offended or cry, whatever. So with that, I'm not going to try and be too funny, and I'm going to end it. And I just say thank you very much and look forward to the rest of the night. Thanks.